Apparently this bolt, that's the bolt that could be an absolute pain. They have been known to shear off and cause all sorts of problems, so I'm hoping it just comes undone without too much hassle. Let's give it a go. It's going to be a 5-second bolt, or it's going to end up being a 5-hour bolt. So let's pray that it's going to crack off. Welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm hoping to get all the oily stuffs done on the TTS project and get her back on the ground ready to hit the road. Been on axle stands far too long and it's just literally been waiting for parts. So let's crack on, get a few bits out of the way, get her on the ground, and then we'll be ready to get on the road and see how she actually drives. Let's do this.
So I'm going to take this opportunity while the car is still up in the air to give the brake calipers a nice little refresh. So first of all, let's give them a nice little clean up, prepare them for paint, a bit of masking tape, and then on goes a black bag just to make sure we don't get any overspray where we don't want it. I'm painting them Audi satin black, and I believe it's an OME finish. It comes out quite glossy at start, but once it dries out it does go more satin. If you're enjoying the videos, please give us a like and consider subscribing to the channel, because it will really help and we can get onto bigger and better things. With the rears done, it's time to get onto the fronts. Same thing as before, give them a good clean up, but the only difference with the front calipers is they are already painted black. So we need to give them a good scuff up and key up and mask and tape where we do not want the overspray going and what we don't want painting. So same as again, good clean up and all ready for paint. So with the caliper all ready, let's get some paint on it. And I can't tell you how good this paint is. It really does stick so well, and I'll definitely be using this product again. As I said before, it goes on quite glossy, but when it dries out it does go satin. So with the spring clip covers all off as well, I'm going to give them a good clean up. Scuff them up like we did with the front calipers. Get them ready for paint, and then we'll put a few coats of Audi satin black over those as well. With the paint all on them, it's time to put the TTS stickers on them. So I managed to get some of these online. I tried to get them on as straight as I could. I didn't think they went on too bad, but it definitely was well worth putting on.
I don't think I've done too bad putting the stickers on. They're not absolutely perfect, but they are on the brakes and they will stand out. So that one is not as good as that one. I think that one's gone on better. Well, not gone on better, but it's more in the middle. So I've left the brakes a few days, so the paint's all gone off and it's all nice and good. They look pretty mint. Obviously I've still got to put the TTS guard on, but I've noticed the pads are probably about halfway worn. So I thought, why not put some nice new ones on? So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to put some nice new pads on it and then bleed the braking system, and that is the brakes done. Oh, my hair's crazy. Right, let's do it.
So I start by removing the reservoir cap so we don't break the master cylinder, and undo the, I believe there was 7mm hexes at the back, and then I push the piston back with a large screwdriver, and then finish pulling the slider pins out. I do grease these up before they go back in. So I use the bungee cord to just hold the caliper out of the way to stop it from getting damaged, because obviously it's got fresh paint on it, and remove the old pads. Just check the new pads against the old pads, and after looking at them a few times, I realised I have been sent the wrong pads. So we'll be back to finish these brakes off later on in the video, but I thought I'd just give them a little clean up now on the carriers, prepare them for when the new brakes get here. So it's finally here after about a month of waiting. It's supposed to be 3 to 4 days, but it's now here. I've been waiting for this. So let's see what I've been waiting for. So what's in the box is a genuine cam chain kit and tensioner and all the gaskets, everything we're going to need to do this. I've never changed the chain on one of these, so it's a first time experience for me, and I've heard that the cam adjuster bolt can be an absolute pain and it can strip, and it can turn into an absolute nightmare. It's literally going to be like a few seconds happy days, or it's going to turn into about 5 hours of drilling and all sorts of stuff, which hopefully we're not going to get into, but I have got the genuine tool to undo it. So let's hope for the best, but let's go and strip that back and get to it so we can change that chain. So we need to remove all of this out the way so we can get to the chain and tensioner, which is in there. So I start off by removing the air box. This is why I never really fitted it properly in the previous videos, because I knew I wanted to do this, because there was signs of stretch on the chain when I'd done the diagnostics. So unplug a few electrical cables and the hoses off the PCV. And then start removing the coil pack harness, which can be a bit fiddly, but they do come off eventually. I'll just try not to break any clips because everything seems quite good under here, so I want to try and keep it that way. So with things starting to get disconnected, it's time to start pulling these hoses off the back of the rocker cover, because the rocker cover will need to come off to do this job, because we will need to lock the cams in. So now it's time to move the coil packs. Then undo these 2 screws that are holding the cam belt cover on the side, as these are screwed straight into the rocker cover. So with those screws removed, it's time to get on to the many screws holding down the rocker. I think there's 12 or 13 altogether. I know there's quite a few on there. It might be more than that, I don't know, but I know there's definitely more than 10. So with the hose out the way, I crack on getting these all undone. It was quite time consuming. I should have got my electric ratchet in there, but I wanted to make sure it all came off really well and nothing got broke and nothing was seized. So I doubt this has ever been off. So with them all loose, it was time to get some movement on the cover. And there we go, got some movement on it. So with the rocker cover removed, you can now see the camshafts all exposed, and we need to lock these into place. But before we do that, let's remove the high pressure fuel pump, which we've had off pretty recently anyway. So we're literally going to be putting the same cam follower back in, but I did come with new bolts and seals in this kit for the chain, so I might as well use the new ones and keep these ones as spares just in case, even though they've done like 0 miles. So let's whip those bolts off and get this high pressure fuel pump out of the way. So I had to remove this little coolant line out of the way, and then there's a spline that we need to undo to get the bracket, which we can literally bend out the way carefully. With that bent out of the way, you can move this wiring harness, and then we need to undo this bracket. Then I believe there's 7 torque bolts holding the cover on, so let's whip all those off. with all those bolts all whipped off, it's now time that we can remove the cover, and we need to remove this cover literally pulling it straight out, straight as we can be. Trying to be very careful with it. And put a rag underneath, as there is like an oil feed sort of bit inside there for the VVT or something, and it just constantly keeps on dripping out. So just put a rag there. If you look at the tension, you can see the bottom of it, some of it's missing. I did actually find all those bits in the sump when I did the pickup pipe and oil balance shaft delete. So with that all off, we can now lock the cams in place with a special tool. So let's tighten that down, and then we're going to mark the camshafts where they are. I have got the car at the moment at top dead centre, so I'm just marking them because they will probably move. Apparently this bolt, that's the bolt that could be an absolute pain. They have been known to shear off and cause all sorts of problems, so I'm hoping it just comes undone without too much hassle. Let's give it a go. It's going to be a 5-second bolt, or it's going to end up being a 5-hour bolt. So let's pray that it's going to crack off. At this point, I was so happy that that bolt came undone. It could have been an absolute nightmare if it sheared off in there or something bad happened, but we are very lucky. So with that bolt undone, we can now remove the chain and the variator, I believe that is. I could be wrong. And let's remove the old tensioner. Have you noticed I put the pin in to keep it down, to stop it from springing out and going everywhere? And on goes the new one, genuine, and then we torque these down to spec. These are new bolts as well. And with the tensioner all in place, I start marking up these cams. I have to do a big shout out to Nick at Decimal Temps, because I'm literally following his guide on how he done it on his video, and it seemed the best way to do it. So big shout out to him, mate, legend. I wouldn't have done this if I hadn't seen your video. So with the chain on correctly, it's time to get it back on the cam, so I just had to move it back very slightly and then put in a new cam bolt and then torque that to spec, which was 20 newton meters plus 45 degrees. Another thing to do while you're here is to change the camshaft for just the housing seals. 3 of them. They're only made of like a plastic, but use genuine ones. They are a little bit expensive, but you only want to be going in there once. Alright, with all the seals on and everything all on, it's time to put it all back together. So we're all basically all back together now, and I thought, why not treat it to some nice brand new plugs. So let's whip these in, and then I think we're near enough to be ready for a start, and hopefully we won't hear any metal or metal, because that would be a negative. So nice and easy, just whip the old plug out and put a new one in. I do them one at a time, so I whip the old one out, put the new one in, then I move on to the next one. This way I know it's in there, and it eliminates the risk of anything falling into the engine. And with them all in, I just torque them all down to spec, which I do is 30 newton. Some people say 25, but I do 30. It looks like it's had new coil packs recently. These literally look brand new, and they're proper NGK ones. So let's pop the coil packs in and then connect them up to the harness and screw that down. I think we're nearly ready for that start. Just double check everything.
That's, that needs to go on. Let's get that on there. There we go. Good. I think I might just quickly turn it over by hand first, just to make sure.
So at this point the microphone decided to have a meltdown for about a minute, and unfortunately it ruined the sound quality of the first startup, but I will do that again at the end of the video.
Right. If we hear metal on metal now, very, very bad, but hopefully we should be okay. That's got to be a good sign.
So with the engine all running sweet, let's now get it all put back together under here. So I start off by putting the airbox bracket back in, which is held on by 3 10mm bolts. Right, let's tighten those down. And then we slide the airbox on top and push that down over the rubber grommets and do 1 10mm bolt to secure it into place. And put like a little plastic duck on and treat it to a nice brand new man air filter. And that is the engine bay all together with its engine cover on, looking perfect. Now let's get back to the brakes that we started earlier on the video, as the new ones have now turned up and they are correct. So let's copper grease up where we're going to be sliding. People do say don't use copper grease on brakes, use proper brake stuff, but as you can see, prevents disc brake squeal, so it's actually made for the job. So with that, let's now put a little bit on the pads, push that into the caliper and get the front one ready, then slide the caliper on and now do those 7mm hexes up and put the dust covers on. So now with the brake pads in, let's now fit the retainer spring sort of clip thing, whatever it's called, on. It was a bit fiddly.
I think that looks a lot better now. Right, just got to go and do the other side and then we'll bleed up the system, put the wheels on and get this thing on the ground. So now the new pads are all in and the brakes are back together. Nice. On this side you do have a sensor for the a brake pad wear sensor. So let's start bleeding the brakes now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty the reservoir. I'm going to put some fresh fluid in here and then put my pressure bleeder on. Normally you'd start from the furthest away from the reservoir when you do a car, but Audi Volkswagen decided you do it from the closest to the reservoir, and to be fair, I did that on my other Mark II and the brakes are absolutely fine, so we'll do the same on this one. So it's got nice fresh fluid throughout the car and then we get it on the floor.
So with the reservoir all topped up, let's now fit the brake pressure bleeder and pump this up to around about 20 psi or just under. Find somewhere safe for it to stay. Yeah, that will do. And remove the little dust cover off the bleed nipple and put a clear hose on into a bottle and then use a brake spanner. These are 11mm. I'm bleeding approximately probably 200 millilitres out of each caliper, and keep on checking on the bleeder to make sure we don't drop too much pressure. Don't want to drop below 10 psi ideally. That's the first one done. I'll put the dust cover back on the nipple.
on to the next one.
So now we just literally do the same to all the other 3 calipers. The only thing different is the rears, as the nipple location is a little bit harder to get to, and I couldn't get the proper brake spanner on, so I had to use a normal 11mm.
The good thing about using a pressure bleeder is we probably won't have to bleed the ABS unit because we've got a constant pressure there, so it should never be running dry.
So we're on the last caliper now. And it comes.
And now let's get under the bonnet, make sure our level is correct, and make sure, most importantly, we still have a pedal. Now with my brake level all correct and all done, let's see if we still have a hard pedal. And we do, so let's start it up. Just to make sure it's all good. Brakes feel spot on so far, so let's get those wheels on. So that's all on the ground now. Wheels all torqued up. I've still got to put the centre caps on, but I need to take it for a drive and then I'll torque those back up. Needs a good tidy up and clean out. I know the audio in the video when we done the first start wasn't great, so I'm going to do that again for you now. So here she goes. She sounds absolutely spot on. So join me next time where we give her a nice clean, get her out on the road and see how she actually is. I also need to get her tracking done because obviously we changed those lower ball joints. But thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything and it will really help us move forward so we can get onto bigger and better things. So see you in the next one.